Hi, I'm Bryan Hiveley and I'm here at Miami International University of Art and Design in our equipment cage. This is the location where students would come to check out equipment to work on their projects. Today what we're going to be doing is going to require you to have your phone or personal camera to take some images around your community to use for the next project, and then bring it into the computer lab where we'll be doing some different color overlays and adjustment layers. Alright, go out and take some pictures, and I'll meet you back in the digital lab where I'll show you a few techniques to make those pictures even better. Alright, I'm here in one of the digital classrooms and we're getting ready to start the project. Go ahead and take your images, drop them onto the desktop, and then bring them over to the Photoshop icon so they appear in the program. For this project, we're going to be doing an analogous color scheme, and it's going to require us to select out different objects on the image and then put solid color overlays on them. So it's very important we have delineated space that the quick selection tool can easily pick up on. So once we put the color overlays on there, we'll be able to make this an entire analogous color scheme. I have 3 images here today, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why they would be appropriate for this project or not appropriate for this project. The first one is of this palm tree. Even though it's a really beautiful image, we don't want to use that one because the palm tree itself is just too complex, and we're going to be using the quick selection tool, and it will have a really hard time selecting this out nicely. We'd want to mask that, and that would be for a different project. My second one is just of the water in front of the school. Even though this is a very interesting, beautiful image, it's not going to be appropriate for the project because it does not have clear, delineated transition lines that we can select out and do color overlays on. My final image is this beautiful image of the city of Miami. Now this one will work perfectly. That's because it's really well-defined image that when we use the quick selection tool, it'll have no problem selecting out the objects that we want. So the first thing I want to do is increase the size of this image. I'll do that by going to the crop tool, which is located on the toolbar just a few tools down. The crop tool will appear with edges that are going to be a little bit darker in the line color, and then we will go ahead and increase the crop tool by just pulling on those edges. Hit return to let Photoshop know, yes, you do want the image that size. And then right now we have negative space above the image and below the image. It's going to appear as like a checkerboard pattern. That means there's no information there. So we're going to have to let Photoshop know what we want in that area. We will go to the rectangular marquee tool, which is the second tool down, and then I will go ahead and select the rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to go a little bit beyond onto my image of the sky, and then I'll go up to Edit. I'm going to go to Fill, and then I'm going to go to Content Aware and hit OK. Now what Photoshop will do, it's going to take that information from the sky and it's going to fill in that area that's got all that negative space. It'll take Photoshop just a minute to figure out what it wants, and as you can see there now when I do a Command D, the sky has been increased and the photo is much larger on the top, so let's do the same thing on the bottom. I'm going to only select a little of that water. If you do too little, Photoshop will have a hard time picking up on it. So if it says they can't do it, just make a little bit bigger selection, but this should be all right. I'll go to Edit. I'm going to go to Fill and say OK. And Photoshop's just going to take 1 minute to fill in that area. All right. So now the proportions of the photo are a little bit better, and the city's a little bit more in the middle of the photograph. So let's go ahead and use the quick selection tool and select out the imagery here. The quick selection tool is located right under the object selection tool, and we're going to go to the quick selection tool, the second one in. And the way this quick selection tool works is if you use the brackets on the keyboard, you increase the size of what the brush is with the quick selection tool. The right bracket will make it larger, the left bracket will make it smaller. I'm going to make it a little bit larger so I can select the whole sky here. Now the sky has been selected, but as you can see that Photoshop didn't quite understand exactly what I wanted, and it selected the buildings in the background. So what I want to do is take my brush from my quick selection tool, make it a little smaller, and this time I'm going to hold down Option on the keyboard. When you hold down Option on the keyboard, you're telling Photoshop that you don't want that information, and it will take out all those buildings that it accidentally selected. Photoshop's a quite intelligent program, and it's going to figure out exactly what you want. As soon as you start doing it, it's going to be like, oh, okay, I get it. It's going to take out all these buildings. So I can go kind of fast here, selecting out those buildings. So just take a minute to zoom in to make sure you have everything to a Command+, and then you can move around your image and see if there's anything that you just need to add on. All right, and I'll zoom out, Command-, and I'm still missing a few little things, so let me just touch those up really quick. And that should be good. This is going to be, when I zoom out, all that tiny detail, we might not see it, but if you want to spend a little time and really make it perfect, that's up to you. All right, now that we have our selection, the first thing we need to do is make it black and white by using an adjustment layer. So you're going to go down to the bottom of the screen where there's a half circle. That's our adjustment layer. Click on it. There's going to be a lot of different selections that you can select from. Select on the black and white. The reason we want it black and white is because the sky currently has a lot of different colors on it. Even though it's mainly blue, it does have a lot of different colors on it. As we transition this to analogous color scheme, we don't want those other colors coming through. So by changing it black and white, we assure that when we put that color layer over the top, it's the only color we're going to see. So now we have our sky black and white. We need to reactivate our active selection. It did go away once we added on that black and white fill. So to get the active selection back, we're going to hold down Command. We're going to click on the little icon for the mask, which is on that black and white adjustment layer. We click, and then the active selection comes back. Now, when we go back to that half circle, we're going to go to the solid color adjustment layer, and we're going to start in putting in our colors for our analogous color scheme. I'm going to start with my first color. I'm going to select green as my analogous color scheme, and then I'm going to continue on with different shades of green as we go on in the project. So I go ahead and I select the green. Now as you see, it's going to go on. It's going to be very opaque. You're not going to see any of the information that's behind it. That's because we have to change our blend mode. Our blend mode is located right here on the top of the layers palette. Right now it says normal. Just by clicking on the little arrow in the corner, we can go through our selection, and we want to go to multiply. And then you can see the clouds in the background, and you can see our image perfectly through it. Now that we have those three layers done, we can go ahead and merge them onto our main image. Go ahead and hold down Shift. All three layers are selected. Do a Command E, and that's going to merge all the layers onto one. Now we can go ahead and select another item in the photograph to do another color overlay on. Now again, Photoshop is figuring out very quickly what exactly we want, and this is going to be a little bit quicker than it did before because we've already selected once, and Photoshop is going to remember that information. So again, if you miss something or it takes too much of a selection, just hold down Option and then go ahead and go over it to deselect it. All right, now I have my main image selected in the active selection. I'm going to go back and make it black and white one more time. Then I will go ahead and hold down Command, select that mask layer here again where the icon for the mask is, make an active selection again, and I will drop on that solid color overlay, and I'll do another shade of green. Say OK. Let me go ahead and hit multiply, and we're down to one more layer with our quick selection, but let's first go ahead and merge those layers so we don't get confused on which layer we're going to be on. Hold down Shift, select all the layers, do a Command E. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select this final layer. And I want to make sure that I get anything that does not have a color yet. Once it's selected, I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process one last time. Go to black and white. I'm going to hold down Command, select the swatch for the mask icon, and then I am going to get an active selection again. Go to the half circle, which is our adjustment layer, go to solid color, and I will put on my final color. And let me go ahead and select a nice shade of green. And then I will change the blend mode, and then I will go ahead and select all the layers and do a Command E. So now we have our image has turned into an analogous color scheme with three different colors that are all from the same hue. All right, now that we're done with our analogous color scheme, I'm going to show you one little trick that might give your image a little more visual impact. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that quick selection tool one more time. And this time I'm going to select out this entire city and the ocean. We're going to go down to the adjustment layer. The adjustment layer is located down at the bottom of Photoshop, and it's under this little FX icon. When you click on it, you're going to notice a lot of different choices. We're going to go to the outer glow. The outer glow is going to give us some really nice effects that are going to help us illuminate the city and give this image a little more visual impact. So I've already selected out a nice green color that'll work with our analogous color scheme, but you can adjust this to whatever you feel is most appropriate for your image. There we have it, and you can see now that our city is illuminated and vibrant, and this is a really great example of an analogous color scheme. But if you want to have a little fun and push it a little farther, you can go with any range of color schemes and come up with some really creative projects. Here are some examples of split complementary color schemes and double split complement color schemes. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Bryan Hiveley, and I hope I see you soon at Miami International University of Art and Design.